Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, EXP family. What is going on? Welcome to Level Up. My name is Alyssa Specht. I'm with EXP University. I am so pumped to be here with you today. Today is Wealth Wednesday, and let's kick it off. Let's kick it off by welcoming you. If you are a return viewer, thank you for tuning in yet again, leveling up together. Now, if you are maybe a first time viewer, welcome. Welcome to Level Up. We are actually streaming live today on YouTube, on Workplace, in EXP World. We're all over the place. And what we're doing is we're bringing you training that's going to help you level up your life and level up your business. And we do this every Monday and Thursday. So what I want you to do is make sure that you subscribe to the EXP Realty YouTube channel so that you get that notification bell the next time that we go live. All right. So today, my friends, we've got some pretty good stuff. I'm pretty excited about today. So we are bringing you the goods, and we're going to kick it off today by talking about a specialization. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a moment. But our second session is going to be with Jeremy Kane. And it's going to be Jeremy Kane talking about how you can turn every relationship into a client. All right? Intriguing. And then after that, we're going to talk to Jacob Shireman about how to create a highly effective real estate sales funnel. That's a mouthful right there. But I promise you that one is full of information. It's really hands-on. It's going to be something that you do not want to miss. So we're going to get going. And the first thing we're going to start doing, I told you, we're talking about specialization. So we're going to bring you a number of these over probably the next few weeks about different specializations. And what we want you to do with it is we want you to think, is that a fit for me? Or just understand the basic premise of it. So like what we're doing today, that might not fit you exactly, but I would still encourage you to hang out and watch it because it's going to give you the questions that you need to ask when you figure out, okay, is a particular specialization right for me? So let's kick this off today by talking about farm and ranch with Vanessa Nunez and Lindsey Hollin. Take it away.
Hey, Lindsey, I'm so excited to be here today. How about you?
I know. What an amazing opportunity to talk about a profession and a market in real estate that you and I both love and also live every day.
I know. Farm and ranch is such a fun topic. And so many agents don't really know like how fun it is until they kind of decide to dip their toes in and maybe have an elusive land deal somewhere. And they're like, oh my gosh, I thought it was just, write up a contract of, unimproved land. And then they go, holy cow, there's this whole other world of all this stuff that you need to know. So I thought, what better yet to have the person herself, Lindsey Hollin, the farm and ranch broker, to come in and we just chat a little bit about farm and ranch and what it's like to be a farm and ranch agent and some of the little things that we need to know and the nuances of it that most people wouldn't know if they don't sell farm and ranch.
Absolutely. Vanessa, thank you for having me. And, obviously, if y'all don't know on the other side of this, Vanessa is a 6-time, about to be 7-time icon agent. She also, her and her husband, Jimmy, run one of our highly productive farm and ranch teams, Ranch Texas. You want to talk about somebody who's developing a division within our division of groups and teams here at EXP. We both are out of Texas. I also run a farm and ranch team as well as being a managing broker. Mine is 1-833-TX Ranch Real Estate Group. So you can remember how to call us.
I love it.
Our phone numbers and our name. Yeah, Vanessa, this is something we live and breathe. And I think sometimes we take it for granted how we got started. Also, too, our background was the lifestyle of farm and ranch. So we had that edge over someone that, didn't know about ranching cattle or growing crops, or being in the hunting industry, which is huge here in the state of Texas.
Absolutely.
So I'm really excited that we get to be here and talk about leveling up, obviously leveraging your real estate license is a massive theme at EXP. There's so many ways for you to be an entrepreneur in this business. And one of those is leveraging our other markets, real estate markets. So, we all in this EXP platform do residential. However, we have EXP commercial and soon to be EXP farm and ranch. I'll probably get in trouble for saying that. But,
well, it's always been the hope, no matter what it is. It's always been the hope and the dream. So, you know what? We're just putting it out there. The visualization always makes things happen.
Absolutely. And of course, just like EXP commercial having a vision, it's an opportunity to teach agents about another type of real estate, and then compliance, rules, the tools, your resources, collaboration and memberships, and accreditations. So the same thing is super simple and parallel to also that farm and ranch market. It's another division, and there's a lot to it. So I'm really excited that we were both asked to be here and talk about to someone who's interested in transferring and leveraging their income over to another division.
You know what also I think is exciting is that I think a lot of people don't realize that females in the farm and ranch industry are, there's actually quite a few of us. Most people think it's a pretty male dominated field, but it's not. And I think that's why it was so cool to have both of us here from that perspective, because we are at the top of our game. So that's why we're here to explain a little bit more, if someone's interested in the farm and ranch, how we go about it. If you're starting to it, wouldn't you say that your CE courses, or your, if you're the first couple of years, those SAE courses that you have to do, don't you think that would be a good place for them to start, is getting in and taking some of those courses so they actually can learn the lingo before like jumping feet first? And
well, absolutely. And let's go back to the beginning for anyone. So we're in the state of Texas. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Texas process and compliance. So the Texas Real Estate Commission houses our license, and they're the ones that talk about what you can and can't do. So we have a fiduciary responsibility. We have an ethical responsibility to our clients. And it states very clearly in our commission in the state of Texas that you must have competency in the type of sale and the geographical competency. And I know some people say, well, what is geographical competency mean? It doesn't just mean the county or the city in which the property is located. It means what's actually going on within that market. Right. So, I dive a little deeper. I said, hey, listen, okay, so you live in that county. Do you know the soils? Do you know the water rights? Do you know the conservation districts? Do you know the sources that you need? Because it clearly states in TREC, and now it is highlighted heavily. Legal 1 and 2, specifically Legal 2 course, your CE course, which is required by our state, and I'm sure similar states have the same, guidelines, that if you do not have competency within that market, your license can be suspended or revoked. And that's very serious as a managing broker when they come to us and they say, well, can I do this deal? And I'm like, well, you have the client. However, do you have the competency, and can you prove that to TREC? Say you get sued. Can you stand there and look an attorney in the eye and he says, well, you've never done this before. How did you know how to write the contract? How did you know that the well was going to be good and there was no mineral rights and there were no easements? I always take it back. We're really hungry and we want the business, but at the end of the day, do not jeopardize your license. And also, we have an ethical responsibility to our clients that if we don't know that information, that we need to refer them or partner with someone who's going to carry that liability. And we're seeing, I just saw a statistic the other day that, lawsuits in our state have gone up 9% because of this particular type of competency issue. So, one, we want you to be, at least in our broker room, I know the other states are the same, but we want you to protect your license. This is your future income.
Well, yeah. I mean, your license is, I look at our industry that we're really no different than doctors or lawyers. They also have to follow a code of ethics. So, and they also have, all of their things that make their license what their license is. So would you put yourself in harm's way and go to, let's say a brain doctor when you really needed your heart looked at? Probably not. You're gonna make sure that you go to the heart doctor, If you need your heart, and the brain doctor if you need your brain. So it's that same sort of, when you look for an agent, are they competent in their area? Do they understand mineral rights? Do they understand, like you said, the water conservation? Do they understand what the functionality of a well is? If you don't even understand the functionality of a well, you've got bigger issues.
Absolutely. And I've seen it and I've had to explain it in our Texas broker room to our agents. Like I said, they're all hungry. Everyone's hungry. We want a deal.
Right.
But, we go back to, if you're more worried about the commission than your client's best interest to be 100% represented in competency, then, that turns into an ethics issue. You put the money before the client. And also, too, how are you going to learn if you don't shadow someone who's an expert in the field? If I wanted to learn commercial, I would find the best commercial team or agent or broker associate here at EXP, and I would shadow them, and then I would use the deals that I had and even say, hey, listen, if you have a deal, I would love to do the grunt work for you and learn. Why do you fill out the contract that way representing the buyer? Why do you look at a contract that way representing the seller? And then too, as you know, this market of farm and ranch, we work together. It's not a battle.
It is not a battle. It is such collaboration from no matter what brokerage you're working from. So let's clearly say that in the farm and ranch industry, it's not a, my client versus your client. Most of the time it is the buyer, the seller, the buyer's agent, and the seller's agent all working in a collective manner to make sure that the deal goes through smoothly, because there's so much information to know. And who's better yet to actually take you around, show you all of the nuances of the property other than the owner themselves. If they're selling a large property, or in your case, you do a lot of the hunting ranches. Well, who's going to know that better than the actual seller?
And being able to interpret and understand what the seller's talking about. So just like the example that you mentioned, hunting ranches. So I'm in that world. I grew up in that world. I trained for the Olympics and shooting, been hunting all my life. So I speak the lingo. I know the lifestyle. I knew that long before I was an agent. And so to your client, that's going to be very valuable to be able to express the value in these certain items, like, the chutes in the barn and, the extra,
because it's a lifestyle. It's not just, I have this beautiful house on some land. It's a lifestyle. Farm and ranch is a lifestyle. And I think it goes along with understanding your clientele in that as well. That's why there's so many different parts of a contract. Are they leaving, like you said, their chutes? Are they leaving their fencing? Is it cross fence? What are all the different, terminologies that we have to use and know?
Yeah. And you go even from crops and fixtures. I mean, there's non-realty items, which most of us understand, couches and beds and things like that, which majority of the time are ranches and farms. They are not only leaving that non-realty items, they're leaving fixtures, they're leaving equipment, sometimes hundreds of thousands
of dollars in equipment.
Of equipment. And if you don't understand that, to put the package together for the seller, so to speak, or if you have the competency to look at and tell your buyer, man, this is a great deal, let's add up, all the potential valuations here, and doing a CMA. And that's a whole nother ball game. CMAs for farm and ranch are very complicated.
They are.
And that boils down to your partnerships. But I think in the first part of this segment, talking about, the basics, you have to have competency. So if you're listening to this leveling up, you want to get in this because you don't have experience. So Vanessa and I are going to talk about where you get that experience. My recommendation, first and foremost, is a farm and ranch advisor. I know in the residential world, you have mentors. Farm and ranch advisors are going to take you on, and they have, when I say years of experience, we have some brokers, associates in our coalition that have over 20 years of farm and ranch real estate experience.
Yeah, exclusively farm and ranch. They don't even do a residential deal.
Absolutely.
They don't even know what to do with the residential. They're like, I don't know what to do with this.
Well,
you know?
and it's not their passion. I think the other thing is when you have a passion for this profession, that energy just feeds off into wanting to learn more, wanting to collaborate. So if you're diving in this industry and really want to take advantage of it, it's really checking yourself and your personality strengths. Is this a type of real estate that I'm going to love? Because your consumer, your client is going to know if you're in it or not.
Right.
Either you have a passion for land and types of land. Like I said, I do more farm and ranch and hill country properties. You and your husband, you guys know the horse ranches, the cattle ranches.
Yep. The rodeo industry, like all of that. So
absolutely.
And what soils are best for the horses, for their arenas and so forth. Like that's a big deal. Like I've had people look for a specific arena, and there may only be 3 in the state. It has nothing to do with location. They need particular arenas and that setup. So for them, sometimes it's not location. It's literally what the property entails and what the operations are on it.
Absolutely. So for those of you that are interested in diving into this market, one, like Vanessa said, when you're taking those classes, there are some CE Farm and Ranch classes. There is also classes within the Farm and Ranch network of real estate. I'm going to talk specifically about Texas and then some national classes. So Texas Alliance of Land Brokers. There we go. That's a mouthful. Texas Alliance of Land Brokers is a membership for agents that specialize in land. Once a month, they have a meeting all over Texas, and they have amazing training classes and speakers. They also host major classes with those heavy hitters. So probably Charles Porter in the state of Texas is one of the most decorated real estate teachers, professors, and I believe he has a PhD. He does a lot on water. If you get in trouble here in Texas with the real estate commission and it has to do with farm and ranch, he's actually going to be on the review board. So he's going to know if you don't have competency. He does have a lot there. So also following these class teachers because they teach all over. So you have certain organizations. Another one is going to be the Realtor Land Institute. Yep. They have nationwide classes, not just within the state. So that's another accreditation, getting your accredited land certification and to educate you on that. And just being a part of these groups. And like I said, Farm and Ranch, follow our Farm and Ranch workplace group. We post all the courses that are available within the state. We also have a United States Farm and Ranch group on our workplace as well. So first, I think like Vanessa said, the curriculum and the baseline of the CE, also reading the documents.
I was going to say, and also learning the journals. There's also the ag journal that you can look at. I always would find the ag journals because that's going to tell you a lot of what's going on kind of behind the scenes. And if you're reading those journals, usually your clients are also reading those journals. So if you're up in for us, we do a lot of Longhorns. So we know a lot about the Longhorn Association, the cattle, the breed itself. What are the things that you're doing to make sure that if you're wanting to get into farm and ranch, are you looking at the journals and the organizations that go along with it?
So true. And then I think the next topic, besides the independent study and the independent classes, is partnering up with someone who is already doing this business. So joining a team. Yes. Vanessa has a team. I have a team. Yep. We have several farm and ranch teams and advisors. Most of our advisors actually have teams. And what that does is it gives you the opportunity to shadow, to hear the verbiage, to actually get boots on the ground. It states very clearly in competency with farm and ranch. And Charles Porter, Dr. Porter is one of those who even says on behalf of TRAC, he goes, you have to walk the land. You can't just you can't just pull a contract, say, oh, my client wants it. That's not how this works.
I walk the land.
Boots on the ground.
Literally, real boots. I hope you're wearing real and snake boots at that.
Yeah, around here in Texas, for all y'all not in the state, I have my snake boots when I go show ranches.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. what are my requirements? And those advisors and those team leaders and that team they're going to help you. They're going to give you they're going to maximize your experience, because they're getting more leads. If they have more buyers for you to shadow or sellers for you to shadow, host an open ranch, and get to see through their eyes, okay, we're going on a listing appointment. What's valuable to this client on that listing appointment? What's valuable to this buyer when we have our buyers interviews, and what things do they need to get started? And using all our systems, and we'll dive into that.
Well, you know what I also find funny is that there's a lot of people with land and they don't even know that there's just land MLSs. They don't even know that there's land exclusive MLSs. And when I explain to them, like, they're like, where are you pulling your comps? And I'm like, from the land MLS, because that's where most of the real, I mean, yes, you can go into whatever the local MLS is, but the land MLS is actually going to give you the most accurate, as well as using your resources such as your farm credit lenders. Those are the people that really know what's really going on, because a lot of times they see the comps more than we do as well, because they're lending on stuff that's not on market.
Absolutely. Or they've done an appraisal. Appraisers
right.
are huge. So running into this new chapter of kind of where you need to get started, CE, finding an advisor or a farm and ranch team, the next thing is the resources. So those team members and advisors are going to, like Vanessa's telling you, we have our own resources for farm and ranch. We have our own title companies. We have our own lenders. We have our own attorneys. Actually, we have several different types of attorneys for land. And like I mentioned before, comps are very hard. We don't just go to the residential MLS and just pull it up. Like, I can't type in 1,000-acre cattle ranch in my local MLS. That just doesn't work.
It doesn't come in.
Absolutely. So having those partnerships, and also being introduced to those partnerships, an advisor like Vanessa or myself are going to be able to say, hey, listen, so when we do comps, this is who we ask, and here's the analysis on that. There is no click of a button, CMA builder. We organically have to go out and pull the market and our resources. So, amazing, Vanessa, just tapping into the resource side of things. And also, like you said, we have our own MLSs. So, what does that look like? How do you use those tools? So I'm really glad that you brought that part up, because how are you going to know what the resources are unless somebody educates you on that, which is going to be your advisor or, your team lead, and getting to know
as well as, when you have clients out there that are asking, what do you do about ag? If you have something that it's a 30-acre, 100-acre property, but for some reason they didn't have ag on it all. Well, how do you advise them on that? Some people go, oh, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, as of right now, you have to prep them that their taxes are a whole different tax basis, and they'll have to go in and take the application process of making sure that they can take the remainder of that land back to ag. There's so many different, because I have a property I'm actually doing that with right now. So, and what are the steps that you look at?
Well, and circling into that, so say you have a property that has an ag exemption and your clients have never done it before. Well, being able to advise your clients, okay, next year before April 30th, we need to put your agricultural plan together and apply to keep your taxes under that agricultural valuation. Well, guess what happens if you don't know that? They get back taxes.
Rollback taxes.
5 years here in the state of Texas.
Rollback.
We're talking tens of thousands
of dollars. And you know what? It happened to one of my clients one time. She did not keep up with, I'm like, let's get your plan together. Let's get your plan together. And she said she wanted to do it on her own. And I said, okay. And she got liable for the taxes because she didn't put the plan in properly and in the proper time frame.
And that's the goal for us is always, me as a farm and ranch team leader and broker, you are the source of the sources. So if you don't know where to go, then how are you going to advise your client to get that, expert opinion and evaluation? And so that bringing it back to the resources. So the county appraisal districts, the county ag extension office.
Yeah.
And a lot of those
Wildlife extension as well.
So if you roll ag into a wildlife exemption, who's going to put their wildlife plan together? What resources does the county have? Because the county has a lot of free resources. So, you know, diving into this as a new agent and leveraging this whole new opportunity, there's a lot of work involved. And I know agents see, oh my gosh, like she just listed a $5 million horse property. That commission check must be amazing. Well, you know,
they don't realize the marketing budget, the photography budget, all of that goes with it. I'm like, yeah, that's just 1/3 of my commission already out the door that I'm spending up front. Yeah. So I don't think that, you know, people realize that when you're looking at these sorts of, you know, rather you call them luxury land, luxury, you know, horse properties, luxury hunting ranches, there's so much marketing and so much money that gets tied up into them. It looks glorious on the front side because what they're just seeing is these amazing pictures. They're seeing, you know, this lifestyle, but they don't realize we had to put the whole marketing budget and everything together to make sure that we're putting this and pushing it out to the right eyeballs. And that's just a random baseline. MLS.
Right. That's just baseline.
Yeah, that's just baseline. That's just basic. Yeah.
So just to give you guys an idea, and I love, this is another thing. It sounds great, like you said, to be a part of this whole industry and market. But, you know, you also need to make sure you're financially ready to open this part of your business. And just to give some examples, and I know you have a few as well. Before I moved to EXP, I was with a premier ranch brokerage, which meant that our average ranch was about 1,000 acres and list price was $5 million. That was average. So at that point, when I have $5 to $12 million listings, which I had within that time frame, you're looking at basic $15,000 just to market that property. And I have people that say, whoa, like, how did you get to that number? I said, at minimum, your photography, videography is going to be baseline, maybe $5K, maybe. Yeah. Well, you have to put those in all the farm and ranch magazines. You have to put those in the MLSs. And by the way, those are MLSs. You guys think residential's, you know, quite an investment?
Oh, land is like the price of commercial. That's why do you think so many commercial agents don't want to give you anything, because how much they have to pay? It's expensive.
Yeah. So, you know, bringing some, you know, eye-opening, you know, thoughts to this is that it's not just jump in and figure it out later. It's having a budget. You know, do you have the ability to go out and pay for a listing to be put on the market? And that's also where I highly advise you find an advisor, a partner, or a team, because majority of our farm and ranch teams, the incentive of being a part of that team is that they offset the cost of some of those resources. So joining, like my team, for example, the benefit of joining my team and having our partnership is you know, the team lead and the team itself pays for the major marketing expenses. So that helps a new agent or somebody developing to be able to do this. And also I love it for marketing consistency.
I would say that that's probably the biggest thing, because if it's coming under, you know, you say either Ranch Texas or 1833 Texas Ranch, we're consistent on how we actually do our pictures, how we do our videos, how we present, the verbiage we use, all the way even down to that. And if you're not staying consistent in that, you're not going to have the same results.
Or you don't know.
Or you don't know.
Good case in point. So, you know, I had a situation with some of our teams out of San Angelo, and they have put me on as a partner to help them with their listings. And I was asking the listing agent, one of our agents, questions. And I said, okay, you know, she's like, oh, it has 4 tanks. And I said, well, when you say tank, what do you mean? Because I'm looking at the photos and I see a water storage tank. And then I see a pond. I said, so what does the word tank mean? Because we need to make sure that we are very clear on, is that a tank or is that just something that the landowner said? Because you and I both know in our profession, depending on what side of Texas you're on, you know,
they call an indention a tank. And I'm like, where's the tank? They're like, you're looking at it. I'm like, That's not a tank. There's no water. Oh, well, I didn't say it had water, but like, so yeah.
So great point. If you do not know how to write an accurate description with the verbiage of the market, like what are those key words, you know, buyers that see this listing, they're not going to take your listing serious. Also, to buyers agents in this profession, like we can tell if you are an educated agent, and I'll tell you, if there are red flags reading a listing where I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, I'm not sure what's going on here, I'm not gonna show my client that, because I can't guarantee that what I'm reading is correct. And that all boils down to your competency, and knowing the market, knowing that geographical territory. Because how many times does a buyer show up and they're like, well, we read that it has live water, but we don't see live water. And it's like, oh, it's a wet weather creek, and when it rains, it has water. And it's like, well, that's not the definition of live water. And then you get into maybe some legal ramifications with your descriptions. Great point in if you don't know this stuff, it definitely can come back and hurt you. And then you've invested all that money and time
and advertising and all of that. Have you ever seen where if you're on the listing side and you have a buyer bring you an offer, they are not with a typical land lending, and they send a non-land appraiser, knowledgeable, and they tell you that your property is worth less because you have a live creek on it?
That's the other.
I have, and you go, wait, what? He goes, yeah, it's you're considered with a flood zone because you have live water. I'm like, but live water is valuable in Texas. He had no idea.
Cha-ching, cha-ching. Like when I see live water, I'm like, this listing just got a lot better. So
it's crazy.
Having competency and understanding the land lending market and land appraisers. So it does happen, and knowing this market, it does happen where you will have a buyer that comes to you as a buyer's rep and says, hey, I'm already approved with my bank and my credit union. And I'm like, okay, I just want to let you know that majority of land sales are outside of the scope of that loan. They won't take them because there's more liability over so many acres or where it's located. So I always challenge them in that buyer's interview, having that experience, that I'm reviewing and interviewing the client to make sure we're ready to go see property. Because if I don't ask those questions and we go out and we find what we want, we write an offer, guess what happens? We get
then you don't have the approval situation that actually mirrors what your land is.
We get to 10 days. We get to 10 days before closing, and the bank's going, oh, we can't lend on this, or we can, but you're going to have to put like 35% down. And I've seen it happen. I've seen people, very lucrative individuals with large multi-million-dollar bank accounts, and their bank wants to help them buy something, and they can make the product work, but it's not the most beneficial,
it's not cost conducive. I would say that to purchase the property when you're looking at certain banks. And so when I have, just like you do, when I have somebody really looking to purchase land, and I like the first thing, hey, we need to call Capital Farm Credit. Let's call so-and-so, let's just like start there at the basic, to get them in the right frame of mind of who they need to be talking to, because that's what we're here again, our resources, and we have these relationships. And
absolutely.
Like to the title, how important it is to have the right title company, not just because I like so-and-so and I have their relationship. If they can't understand what they're writing title on, they won't insure it.
Oh, and this is another, I'm glad you brought this up. So talking about competency and understanding your resources and your partnerships, we get in the broker room, they say, well, on the listing, it said that this is the title company the sellers want. And I'm like, well, guys, that is a negotiable, that's a negotiable line. It's blank for a reason. The buyers and sellers can agree on who's going to do the title. And obviously, if this is a very specific property like land, let's find a title company that's very savvy in land. And actually, that's why we use Ranchers Title here in Texas. And they also do nationwide work, is because the people in that office, they own ranches. If there's a cloud on the title, they can take care of it and make sure everybody understands, the pros and cons of that, and if they can move forward. So just
some of these ranches are generational and they haven't been sold or in a long time. Like I had something that hadn't been sold since the 1950s, and before that it was the 1800s. So there was two owners and they did it a handshake deal when they bought it. So when we went to purchase it, you want to know what all kinds of stuff was in that? So you can imagine.
It's all the way back. It's all the way back.
All the way back.
It was Mexico. Like, oh man, I've seen those.
You're like, wow, and they brought it in these little booklets, and it was crazy because if you wouldn't have been at the right title company that could handle the land, you would not know. Your title most likely would not be able to handle the situation, or they would be outsourcing it. So then what does that mean? That adds time on your contract because they have to outsource it to a particular person. I mean, have you ever had to hire a landman? I've had to have clients hire a landman if they wanted to know specific minerals. Like, we have to go hire a landman, and people are like, what's that? If you really want to know your minerals, we got to go find the landman. And the landman's got to research that.
Absolutely. Yep. You're the source of the sources. And I think bringing this into just starting off, leveling up, really understanding, one, do you have the competency and how are you going to get it? Who's going to introduce you to all the resources and sources we're supposed to have? And then how are you going to get boots on the ground and learn this craft one-on-one? Because you're going to have to shadow somebody. You're going to have to learn about the dirt. And really, too, understanding if this financially is something that you want to dive into as a specialty market, because there is an investment like residential. There is an investment in marketing these properties or representing a buyer and having the tools to let the buyer know, here's what we're looking at. So very excited we had an opportunity to dive into just
like what, an inch maybe of knowledge of this.
Man, Vanessa and I can go on with our war stories all day. But very excited that we're having the opportunity to introduce this market to EXP agents, as well as having more curriculum to come. Very excited. I love being one of the managing brokers in Texas. I am blessed that my state has just wrapped their arms around me in a division that we technically don't have at EXP, but we're working on.
So, and we're so blessed to have you and your depth of knowledge, because there's not, I can't tell you any other brokerages that actually has someone who is a broker that is specialty farm and ranch, even though the contracts, of course, for everything. But just to be able to have that resource to come back and say, hey, this is kind of crazy. What do you see that I'm not seeing? Because there's some deals out there that you got to take new eyeballs off. Your eyeballs, you've looked at it so much you don't see it. And you have a fresh perspective from a broker that is farm and ranch and not just a broker, because not that just a broker means something, but a farm and ranch, someone who is actually actively working and pursuing those listings and those leads. You see it. You're also boots on the ground in the industry. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We know how busy you are. I'm sure EXP is already like, where's Lindsey Hollin? We need her. The bat phone, it's all flashing.
My workplace is blowing up, and like I said, it's not just farm and ranch. I'm in the broker room with 12 other brokers here in the state of Texas with 9,000 agents. And we get hit with all types of questions from, residential and beyond. So yes, but I took this position to take a chance on EXP and rolling out this division, and I'm very excited that Level Up has us talking about it.
So, it's so great to be able to talk about farm and ranch, because people always looked at it as the stepchild, but we're really not the stepchild. We're really the birthplace of real estate. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And we'll have to catch up again soon.
Absolutely, Vanessa. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome session. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Lindsey. That was super informative and honestly just very interesting. I had no idea that so much went into farm and ranch. So super interesting. Thank you for being on the show. All right, my friends. So we're going to keep on grooving. Next up, we're going to talk to Jeremy Kane, and we're talking about honestly, Jeremy's going to bring you in something a little bit more unconventional. You know, everybody's heard these different things. You know, it's always the thing that everybody says is like, you know, never go and show someone who doesn't have that pre-approval in their hand a home. Never show that. Jeremy's going to give you a different perspective, and he's going to talk about turning relationships into clients. So without any further ado, let's toss it over to Jeremy Kane.
Kane. I am a 2-time Icon Award winner and recently captained my first 30 days of my next annual year. So super excited to be a part of EXP, helping newer agents or agents that just have hit a plateau absolutely crush their business. So today we're going to talk a little bit about unique buyer strategy that I use, and we can kind of dive right in. So we're trying to turn every single relationship into a client. And when I say that, a lot of times people think, well, you know, I don't want to be super transactional, and that's not what we're doing here. It's all about building that relationship and building that rapport. And every relationship can lead to a client. However, every relationship isn't a client, and that's kind of the terminology game we play there. So let's kind of get right into it, guys, and go from there. When I was first in the business about 10 years ago, I was working at my dad's brokerage and kind of got rolling. And I said I had to be different. My dad had gotten in the industry, sold houses for 2 years, became a managing broker pretty quickly, and then just kind of was good with the status quo. That was not my path, and that's not the path I took. But it was really about why I was different. So we're going to have you guys take 30 seconds, just write everything that you do differently than the other real estate agents in your market and that you compete with. So I'll give you a little bit of time there. Why don't we just grab a piece of paper and just jot them down. Don't think too much and write down 30 seconds. Ready, go. All right, I don't have a timer, but we'll say that was about 30 seconds. So hopefully you have a few things down. The point is for it to be small, so don't pause this and take the whole day to write everything down. 30 seconds. So this was me, you know, things that you probably wrote down and hopefully you didn't was, you know, I enjoy people. I like selling houses. I have a good attention to detail. What else comes up? I have a good sphere of influence and I have good knowledge of the real estate market, whatever it is, very general, basic stuff. That was me. Didn't talk a lot about strategies, didn't talk about my unique value proposition, as I'm sure you've heard all about getting into this industry and going through the education here in EXP University. But so this was me, 3 million agents in the USA, and I had to be different. So this is what I did. As a new agent, I started with getting buyers off the fence. And this is a strategy that is a little bit different. You're going to hear some things today that probably are counterculture to what you've heard. And we're gonna see if you like it. So let's go. So I asked myself what the worst part of buying a home was, putting myself in the client's shoes. And, you know, I asked myself as a homeowner, as an investor, using loans, the loan process is everyone's worst nightmare. Not because, you know, it's just tedious, right? It's printing out bank statements with the exact dates. It's, you know, showing up and saying, yeah, I messed up. I had that collection back in college, or, you know, digging up, you know, past, you know, divorces or relationship things or anything that has to do with your credit. Typically, you know, people are pretty guarded about that and pretty protected. So I just hate the little tedious pieces of it. So I can only imagine what a first time home buyer is when I've bought and sold probably 10 properties. And that's the worst part of it for me. I'm sure for those first-time home buyers especially, it is an issue. So why do we insist of, going through this before they are a client? And we've all heard the adage, don't put them in the car until they're pre-approved. So essentially, when you take a step back, and with my psychology background, I'm saying, okay, we're going to have them do something that's painful and hard. Maybe it's not painful, maybe they're good. But before we do anything else, before we demonstrate any of our value, we're saying, hey, call this person and tell them all about your life story. Don't worry, I trust them, they're great, without providing any value. And this might work for your mom or your sister or somebody that, is helping you get rolling in the real estate industry with a transaction. But I didn't think that was the right place to start. So I created what I call a scouting trip. Show them homes before they get pre-approved. And, it's totally different than what I was taught by my dad, by every, mentor, everything I've ever heard. Make this as part of the process. Don't show them houses. There's a lot of negative things that can come along with that. I was taught never to put someone in a car without pre-approval. Okay, perfect. I don't want to waste time. I will tell you that with this strategy, I've gotten my statistics to 7.5 showings to close in 2021 and 2022, when the market was absolutely bonkers and we were competing with 20, 30 offers at times. And now it's around 4.3 shows to close. As you know, in 2023, the market's cooled off a little bit, but we are seeing multiple offers still. And those are my shows per client to get to close. And so obviously know your numbers, that's important. But I would be wondering if you just took a, snapshot of the last 30 days or the one client that you did close or anything like that, and look at how many times you showed to close. Sure, there's unicorns, but I wanted to put a strategy to that to get these things moved down. And so, that's what I did. And then, what if they never buy? Well, if you're a newer agent or you're an agent that's been on the sidelines a little bit, or your business is kind of plateaued, if they don't buy, you're going to provide them with an ultimate experience, showing that you care. And we'll go through that in a second, as well as you're going to get experience, right? If you're a newer agent, you're sitting here, you're making Facebook posts, you're, cold calling, you're door knocking, whatever. Why don't we get some experience showing houses, opening those lock boxes, your presence with the client? All of those things are possible with this scouting trip, because we don't need, we don't need to have them jump through that hoop where we lose a huge majority of our relationships. Is when we send them to a lender. Oh, we have bad credit. They said do this. I'll call them back in 2 years. I'll call you then too. We all know that struggles to convert over time. So I stepped back and I said, okay, that's what I've been taught. That's what we're going to do differently. What's my end goal? My end goal is to appeal to buyers. We're going to appeal to their emotions, right? We're going to excite them. We're going to motivate them. We're going to make them feel capable. We're going to make them feel important, because, everybody knows a bunch of realtors, right? We hear it all the time. And, there's 3 different realtors in my, friend group or whatever that is. Well, if those 3 realtors were taught just like you were until today to, get that pre-approval and put them in the car and do all of those things, then you're going to separate yourself right there by having that time with them. If nothing else, say it's really close friends. Hey, let's go look at houses. I'm going to look at 4 houses today. I know that you're renting, and, I know you're not ready to buy a house, but let's just go check out 4 different houses and see what that looks like. All of a sudden that's different. You have that time, you have the stage to show them that not only you do things differently, but you're also very educated on the market and you care about them, and that gets their emotions going. And then I want to connect them to a lender, right? I don't want to show them a million houses before we get that pre-approval, but that's after the fact, right? I'm going to build that rapport. I'm going to match them with a lending partner that I, know that their personalities will click. Maybe they're, somebody that just called me to inquire, and I'm just going to connect them with, a random lender because that's who, is my lending partner. No, I'm going to connect them personality wise to that lender. So there is that utmost comfort in that uncomfortable process. And then I'm going to collect as much information as I can. What is important to them? This is a huge one and saves me a ton of time, and is actually the number one reason why those showings to close are so low. And then I'm going to demonstrate my professionalism. I'm going to care I'm going to pour into them. I'm going to show them my commitment to really understanding their situation and their needs and their must-haves and their nots, and help them understand, well, maybe this first home is not your dream home, or maybe this move-up home is not your dream home. But we can definitely put a plan in place. I'm here for the long haul. So we can definitely sit down after we get through this close to say, okay, how do we get to that dream home using real estate as leverage? And then just communicate, right? Show your ability to communicate, show your ability to listen. So here's the plan. Okay, we're going to identify potential clients, and here's my 4 buckets. People that should be in the market: death, divorce, downsize, babies, any life change, job change, anything like that. Those are my should be in the markets. One thing I missed right there is people who are renting. Anyone who's renting a home should be in the market to buy a home. If not now, in 2 years, 5 years, however long it takes. But when renting a home, you're paying 100% interest. So I don't care if the interest rate's 8% right now. It's still cheaper than renting overall, and better for the overall wealth of your client. Someone inquires about real estate, right? So obviously this isn't just like a cold, I don't just reach out to people when you're first getting started. This may be something you have to do if you're, if there's not a ton of people in your sphere of influence that, are ready to buy homes, or you're not, connecting with people, or whatever that is. This could be a cold lead source. But if someone inquires, hey, I'm interested in buying homes, I send them straight to the scouting trip. Hey, Johnny referred me, said you're great. Hey, let's do this scouting trip, because I insert it for my knowledge as well as getting them off the fence. So that's definitely one. The dream house piece. This whole strategy actually comes from a well-known coach, well-known guy in my market that's big with NAR and all the things. And he said that he would give a client a questionnaire, and he would always ask them, what's their dream house look like? Right. So he says, this one client, they bought a house 3 years ago, and their dream house was a horse property in Elizabeth. Well, there was a project in Elizabeth that I wanted to go see. So I called him up and said, hey, you know what? How are you doing? Just touching base, whatever. And then he said, he's like, I keep driving by this property, and I can't help but think about you guys, because that dream house, because that horse property that you're looking for. And I know you're happy. We did a great job when we helped you buy your home. But I just want to see you and hang out and, give you a hug, shake your hand, whatever. And, I'm going to be down at this property at 10 a.m. Saturday. Could you and the wife come down and check it out? Like, change their life, right? 90 days later, they bought that house. But that was just showing them a little bit, right? Creating that value. Like, hey, I care about you, showing that care, plugging them in, showing them the home, and then things escalate pretty quickly there. And then interested in listing. If this is also a big one, if someone's gonna, look for a replacement property, I absolutely say, let's go take a look at some properties first, make sure that replacement, that move up home is there. Then I connect them back to the lender to make sure they're comfortable with that monthly payment increase and all of those things. But, in our current market, there's not necessarily the ability to, hey, let's just list your house and then go find that home. With limited interest or inventory on the back end, you want to make sure that the person that you're listing their home, that they have a replacement home, because having homeless clients as a real estate agent is not something we teach in EXP University or in general. I wouldn't suggest that. So really using this to get a lay of the land and making sure that you're going to be a resource to them. Okay. Next, here's what the actual plan is. Okay. We're going to choose 4 houses in 4 different neighborhoods and set showings. Right. So the first thing is definitely know your audience. If you're dealing with, first-time home buyers, show them what your market average first-time homes are. If you're dealing with move-up buyers, don't show them what the $3 million, luxury listing is. So kind of pick those spaces, because another thing that people say is, well, what if I show them a house they can't afford? Well, at the end of the day, they might not be able to afford it at all. But if you know the client, you're able to read the room, know where they're at, say, okay, we're going to look at these places. And you can ask them too, like, if you want to, the mortgage calculator, and say, here's what that amount down would get you, let's go look at properties. Key is 4 houses in 4 different neighborhoods. Don't show them the exact same cookie cutter house. try and get different layouts. If they're on the first-time home buyer side, maybe a townhome and 3 houses, big yard, little yard, HOA community, non-HOA community. You want differentiation here. And you're going to set those showings. You're going to show the homes. Take them out. This is what it is. Let's go. Let's meet. Bring them coffee, whatever you got to do to kind of wow them and impress them along with your brand. And then we're just going to observe. Okay. So when I walk in the door, I say, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited just to kind of hear what you guys think, and think out loud with me. If it's an individual, that's fine. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But tell me what you think out loud, verbally. Let's walk through this. And I have a hard time with this as an experienced agent. I'm like, oh, there's a crack in the foundation. Let's go. Oh, there's a green furnace. Today is not about, selling the house and putting them into that. Now, if they say, oh, like, I'm really interested in this house and I feel that in the moment, then I can kind of go into showing mode. But for now, I'm just observing and listening and taking notes. If there are 2 decision makers, I literally say, argue, throw things at each other. Please don't throw anything that's the sellers at each other. But I want you guys really to duke it out right now and, figure it out, right? Maybe one wants a 3-car garage. Maybe one wants, can't stand granite countertops or whatever. You want to really make sure that things are really dialed in, and just observe, right? If they say, oh, that, the traffic noise is too loud in the backyard, we're going to be spending a lot of time out there. Just giving you more information and more data that will help you down the road. And then filter in the real estate process. I used to do this when people would be in the car more often. I deal with a lot of families now in car seats and that kind of stuff. So a lot of times, people are following me to and from houses. So I am able to filter our real estate process into the showing. If you are not, I have a backup option, and you're just focused on taking notes, and that's fine. And that's what you will be doing at first because it's so different. And then I'm going to take those notes and I'm put them in the CRM. And this is where, the close comes, and this can't happen at lunch or drinks. So if you're not comfortable, like, talking about inspections and appraisals and the process and the market while you're kind of taking notes in the showing, then let's have the close at a lunch, or, grab a drink or ice cream after, and, have the conversation where you can really go into the, crux of the real estate transaction. So, here's the closing script. You can take it, you can do whatever you need to do with it, change it, make it your own. This is a blueprint. It's not going to change your life. You have to make it your own. Fully believe that. So which home that we saw today that if you were in the market to buy, would you offer on, and why? And just listen, right? And you'll know. I mean, obviously, if every house sucked and they're like, oh, it smelled, oh, there's no way. And, sometimes that happens, like, where they're like, oh, there's no way I could have this $1,200 payment in that house in the market. And then we change that. But you're asking them which home they would offer on if they were going to make an offer, and if they're ready, and why. And that's where the magic happens, because they just talk. They say, well, I really like the first one and the fourth one. And if there's 2, then you can be like, well, let's see about these options, right? Let's see. There was 2 houses out of 4 and there's 1,000 on the market. Like, do you think we should maybe, make this a priority and go from there? So then I say the next step is to speak to a lender. I think that this lender and you will, mesh perfectly, and absolutely will be a resource for you. If you, just signed a lease or whatever, we can talk about all of that. If now's not the time, that's okay. I've had people call a lender and improve their credit score drastically over 6 months or 12 months. And then at the end of their lease, they're ready to buy a home, or they've already bought a home. And it's just really important. And there's really no obligation. And I just think that you will hit it off with this lender. Boom. Right. Much more susceptible, much more already saying, yeah, this house and this house is what I would offer on. And so now they're much more, open to the idea of, exploring this. Like, this is a reality, Jeremy. You mean that I can get you into that house, or I can buy that house, start paying down my mortgage, the American dream, all the things, and my payment would go up $200 a month for my rent? Well, if that's reality, let's go. And so you just kind of work your way through that. And this conversation is huge. And notice I didn't say would you offer on any of the homes I saw today? Nope. I said, which one would you offer on? And then they go back and forth. And if there's multiple, if there's one, I take it and run. I latch onto that. Like, hey, can I connect with the lender and see what exactly your payment would be with your situation on that home, just so we have it for future reference? And that's where the magic happens. 4 rules, don't break these. 4 houses only. Don't get into the cycle where you're doing this every weekend unless you want the practice. But, people will take advantage of it because people love looking at houses. That's why Zillow works. That's why all the, websites work. So 4 houses and 4 houses only, all decision makers are present. I don't want to show a wife one day and then a husband one day, because then they're not communicating and the notes aren't as solid. My only goal for this is really to have a buy box and, a relationship with the potential client by the end. We're going to revisit that list when we're showing properties. This is the magic, because this is why I show so little properties to clients, because I have this list, and then a year down the road when they, come back to the market, or maybe right away when they get that pre-approval, they're saying, everyone looks at the pictures. They're like, oh, yep, gray, grays, whites, granite countertops, boom, let's go see that one. Well, if the wife or the husband or whoever mentioned, hey, I can't stand the road noise, I look it up on the map, right? I'm like, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller here, or buyer here, we're this is what's going on. They didn't like road noise. They wanted a 3-car garage. They wanted, no carpet, all the things. Well, then I remind them, because people just get the emails. They scroll through the pictures. They're like, yep, Jeremy, this one. I say, hey, 123 Main Street backs to I-25. It's a loud road. Has anything changed there? Has anything changed in your opinion of living near a busy street? Oh, no, I didn't realize that. Okay, perfect. Hey, those pictures look really great. I do see carpet in some of the auxiliary rooms. Is that okay with you? So I vet the properties before I go and set a showing. And that's a huge time saver. And the reason why I don't waste time on these scouting trips without these pre-approved buyers, because I'm going to use it later on. And that is that. So ultimately, I've done this. I haven't got any, anything other than great feedback, either a buyer. I have sold homes that I've showed on scouting trips, like, hey, let's go. Then I'm like, hey, connect with this lender. They're going to answer the phone at 4 p.m. on a Saturday. So make sure you have those industry partners lined up and on your side. But if nothing else, referrals, especially those first-time home buyers, they all hang out in packs, right? First-time home buyers, move-up buyers, luxury buyers. Hey, Jeremy did this thing and it was way different, right? He didn't make me, talk to a lender and give him a letter that said how much I could afford before, he actually cares, and this and that. And they'll talk about their experience because you appeal to their emotions. So I would love to connect with you. Real Estate Agent Playbook is kind of my deal: Instagram, YouTube, and the podcast. So thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please reach out. Send me a DM on Instagram. I'd be happy to help.
My friends, that was Jeremy Kane. Super interesting. Love that. Thank you, Jeremy, for being on the show. I love that one. That was such a good session. And one of the things I loved about that is just some of that turning over of conventional wisdom. That's always something that gets my attention. So, a different reframe of something that, every real estate agent knows. And now let's turn it on its head. You will have my attention for sure. So great job, Jeremy. And actually, we're going to have Jeremy back on the show later this month. So make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get the notification when you go live, because we've got 2 more sessions with him. So super excited about those. Okay, so my friends, next up, we're talking to Jacob Shireman. And you know what? Before I tell you what it is, let me ask you: should you be doing more? Should you be doing more on social media? Yeah, me too. Are you using it the most effective way that you could be? I'm not, but that's okay, because what we're going to do is Jacob Shireman is going to walk us through how to create a high converting real estate sales funnel. And if that seems super perplexing to you, I would absolutely stick around for this, because it's so interesting. And it's something that I think could help you take your business to the next level. I'm looking around for a notebook right now, because you're absolutely going to want to write some stuff down on this one. We're going to get real detailed. So Without further ado, let's toss it over to Jacob Shireman to talk about creating a high converting real estate sales funnel.
Welcome to the Level Up series. And today we're going to be talking about how to create a high converting real estate sales funnel. And this will actually be a 4-part series. So the first part of our series, we're going to talk about how to actually create the funnel, what goes into it, which ones do you actually need to use between a sales funnel, a landing page, website. We've seen all those terminology out there. The second part to our series is going to be about how to actually drive traffic to your website, your sales funnel, your landing pages, so you can actually get leads. And then that brings us to the third part of our series, where we're actually going to talk about the technicality of actually how do we capture leads and get them into our database or our CRM like KV Core. And then the fourth part of our series is talking about automation. How do we automate our website? How do we get leads, whether it's from paid ads, social media, your website? How do we get them automatically into our CRM so that way we are not manually importing anything? And we're going to be talking about using applications like Zapier. So let's get started. And a little background about myself before we get started. My name is Jacob Shireman. I am a realtor with eXp Realty here in Houston, Texas. But I've actually, before my real estate career 2.5 years ago, I have spent the last 15 years and actually went to college for marketing. And I specialize in web design and SEO. That's what I've done. That's what I built my business on. I own a marketing company as well. And I am the co-founder of Mift Media, which is a full-service marketing company. And I'm also the co-founder of Groovy Social, which is the first ever social media content platform for realtors that actually gives you social media content done for you. And then, like I said, I'm a realtor here at eXp Realty. So I have both sides of the industry and what it takes. So I have the marketing side, I've learned the real estate side. Now I want to share that knowledge with you because there's a lot of topics out there. I'm sure you've seen them even on this platform and other trainings that everybody's talking about sales funnels or click funnels and landing pages, and that IDX websites don't work anymore. Websites are old news. And that's simply not true. So I want to debunk some of those things. And the reason why most people get this wrong, in my opinion, is they just don't have the marketing background and all the terminology correct. So we're going to kind of iron out everything today. And so by the end of this video, you'll properly understand where your website comes in, where your IDX website comes in, when you should use a sales funnel, when you should use a landing page. Because the one thing I want you to remember and take away today is that your website funnel, landing pages, all these tools that people are selling and pushing on you, they are not competitors, they're companions. They should all be working together in a proper marketing plan and strategy, and that's what we're going to teach you today. But before we get started, we need to understand what is a lead. Most people get this wrong. When I work with a lot of marketing clients, they'll tell me, man, I'm getting about 600 leads a month, but I'm not getting any sales or I'm not getting any appointments. And when we go to look at it, they really don't have a lead. They're getting about 600 views to their website a month. And remember, a traffic view is not a lead. A lead is basically someone who has come into your CRM, you've captured their information, and you've gotten a name, minimum name, but you need some way to contact them, an email address, a phone number, a physical address, even somebody that comes into your DMs or messages on Facebook, Instagram. Those are messages or those are leads as well, because you have a way to reach out them instantaneously. Even somebody commenting on your post, you can click their profile and send them a message. So you have some way to contact them, and that's important. A lead, remember, is not a traffic or somebody that viewed your page. It's somebody that you can actually capture their information. And we do this by using online forms, call to action, lead magnets, retargeting ads, your live chat or your Facebook chat. Those can actually generate leads as well, by using squeeze pages, funnels, all of those things. And we're going to dive into that. So now that we know what a lead is, where do we go from there? Well, let's first start off with websites. Websites, by contrary to popular belief, are not dead. You still need an IDX website. And I see this all the time, even in our eXp workplace and discussion rooms. People say, oh, I got rid of my IDX website. I want to turn that feature off. I don't want people to go search for properties on their own. And that is a huge mistake, because your website, if you understand what it does and how to kind of customize your website and your IDX website, you're going to get the return that you need and capture and generate leads. Because remember, a website is created for the purpose of promoting. Your website is the hub of all of your marketing. So your website should take you to all the things you're doing, social media, all of your buyer's guides, any events, videos you put out on YouTube, TikTok, all of that, your social media feeds, they should all go out to those other forms of your marketing plan, those other things. But everything should go to your website, because the website has more power to give people more things at once. Your social media platforms are limited on the information. You can't just bed an online form into your social media post to get them. You usually have to get them to click to go somewhere else. So remember, your website is what gives people your information about your services, your listings, and allows them to build a trust as well. And then your IDX website is a website, is just a feed. So the IDX is just a feed that's connected to the MLS, and you have to have an existing website to be able to use an IDX software or feed. So for somebody to say, oh, I need a website, an IDX website, it's just saying that I need this extra functionality so people can search for it. And that's super important, because this is a way to promote your listings 24/7, not only your listings, but all the listings available in your area. It's a great way to capture leads. Your website is another way to give out resources like your buyer's guide, your seller's guide, your blog information about the area. So it is a great way to do the pull marketing and allow people to come to you, which has a higher conversion rate and a higher quality of lead when you allow the user to come instead of this push marketing where you're forcing a sale or an appointment on them. And that clearly doesn't work because they don't have that loyalty to you. So some quick benefits of having a website, especially with an IDX feed, is one, establishes your online presence. Nowadays, this is pretty much one of the number one ways to capture leads is online, because it's something you can do 24/7. And it establishes your online presence by showing about your team, allows people to build trust with you, but it increases visibility because it's a 24/7 sales tool that literally can capture leads. It's so funny. Every morning I wake up and I can see in my CRM that leads came in from an ad that I'm running or from a blog post, and literally they happen in the middle of the night. In this world where everybody has different schedules, it's not a 9 to 5 world anymore. Some people, their daytime is they work a third shift. So you need to have resources available for those people so they're not feeling left out as well, or move on to another realtor that offers that, right? So, and by having this IDX feed, again, you're increasing visibility because you're showing a range of properties. You know, there's a lot of realtors that want to control what their clients see, but that also limits them because your client might be able to afford more, or they might find something in the cheaper range, but because you're controlling what they see, they might not ever see that. And your website is, again, 24/7 generating leads for you because you have proper lead capture stuff, which we'll talk about in the third part of our series, is what are all the different lead capture methods. But, you know, with resources, your IDX feed, online forums, it's constantly trying different ways to capture that leads information. And it allows you to stay competitive. You won't believe how many realtors just have a bad website. It's not put together really well, or they're just not using it. And if you can stay ahead of the competition, you've got your SEO locked down, you've got your website locked down, you've got your funnels, your landing pages, you're promoting your sell property, you will always stay ahead of the competition because you have a strong online presence. And they're super cost effective. I heard another training that said websites and IDX websites, they're not cost effective versus some of these other funnels out there. And that's absolutely not true. You know, your website is meant to bring in organic traffic. And if you lock that down, organic traffic, which we'll talk about in the next series, is 1,000% more effective than organic social media, especially like blog articles and things like that. So having a website that not only does organic lead generation for you and brings in organic traffic by having funnels and all these other things, you've cornered the market. Because if you're going to go invest money, the best thing that you can do is have your portfolio diversified, right? Well, it's the same thing with your marketing. The more diversification you have, the more chances you have to reach more people and to get your target audience. So let's move on to funnels. What is funnel? All this sales funnel talk out there, everybody thinks they need it. And this is the problem with real estate agents, is we have this shiny object because we're always struggling to get leads, right? And the problem is most people don't have a lead generation problem. They have a lead nurturing and capturing problem. It's easy to get traffic and leads, believe it or not, but to convert those leads is a whole nother ball game. So people, because realtors are struggling to find leads, what is happening? Well, people are dangling stuff in front of, hey, this funnel will convert more leads. This funnel will give you more leads, but it's actually not true, because a funnel is a sequence of actions. A funnel, a landing page, they're all websites. A website's basic definition is basically a page with a URL. You have a way to get to a page that's online, and a website is just a collection of pages. Same thing with a funnel. A funnel is a sequence of actions, web pages, that guide your potential customer towards the main action, and that's some way of converting them. So we want them to schedule an appointment. We want them to submit their information, download a buyer's guide, seller's guide, whatever it is. The whole idea is to capture the lead, right? Now, one thing that if you're going to take away from today, funnels, and same thing for landing pages, they do not bring you traffic. If somebody says this will bring you leads, it's because you have to send them the leads. A funnel and landing page is just meant to process traffic. They're not SEO strong. People aren't just going to naturally stumble on them. So you've either got to put the links in your social media profiles, in your post, run a paid ad to them. You have to physically send them traffic. And then once they get the traffic, they process it. Unlike a website is meant to bring in organic traffic, which is the best conversion rate you will ever have from paid ads, from social media, organic website traffic. So funnels do what websites can't. If you notice, you go to a website, we kind of all have this, we get distracted very easily. There's so much stuff to click on that if your website is not organized properly for people to find the information quickly that they're looking for, they're going to leave. You have less than 30 seconds to capture their attention. If not, they're gone. The goal is to keep them for over 2 minutes on your website. But funnels eliminate the distraction, because the whole thing is, if I send them to a buyer's funnel, they're not getting distracted about the seller's funnel or the renter's funnel, right? And funnels, again, alleviate distraction, but it helps focus on that specific campaign of converting the buyer, seller, renter, investor, or anything like that. So, why are sales funnels important? Do you need to have them? Yes, they should be incorporated into your website. When you go to your website, you should see on the menu, home, buy, sell. Well, your buy and your sell, or rent or invest, those are all funnels, because that information is targeted from the main conversion point of getting somebody to buy a house with you or sell a house. You wouldn't want to make one page that says we buy, sell, lease, and invest, and have a paragraph about each. It's not specific to that purpose, okay? And this is what sales funnels. So technically, most people's websites already have a built-in funnel, and they just don't know it. It's not a separate system. You don't need a separate system. Funnels create customers because it's targeting one main conversion goal, buyers. It monitors and tracks their progress through this funnel, and it focuses the efforts so that way when those group of people come in, the buyers, they don't accidentally wind up on the seller's funnel, because then they're not interested, right? Because they don't have a home to sell. They want to buy. And then if you have your funnel processed correctly, it helps generate referrals, because it's a series of steps. And this is what I'm going to show you here, is that your buyer's page, let's say we have a buyer's funnel. They're going to visit our buyer's funnel because we sent them traffic. They're going to start viewing listings, which hopefully will capture their lead. And they're going to register and subscribe. Again, like in KV Core, if you look at more than 2 properties, you've registered and subscribed. And then it's going to schedule a consultation. And so they're doing that automatically. If you're not using something like Calendly, you're missing out, because if you have to go back and forth about a time, you're wasting so much time in this process of getting back. And more likely, the ball's going to drop and an appointment's not going to get set. But if they can see the availability in your calendar, they're going to book instantly. Then after they book a calendar, you're going to send them a questionnaire, right? I've seen other models that lend to this questionnaire first, nobody's going to fill out a questionnaire unless they have a scheduled appointment with you ready to meet. But the questionnaire step in the funnel allows you before your appointment to get all that pertinent information. Are they pre-approved? What are you looking for? What areas? Do you have a co-applicant? All of those things you need to know. You don't have to take in the buyer's appointment. You can send a presentation, the basic general 10 minutes that you give to everybody about the steps of buying a home. Send them a video, let them watch that beforehand. So when you get there, your focus is to go through that list, see if you missed anything, and to build rapport with your clients. So now they want to work with you. Instead of wasting an hour, now you're down to 30 minutes. Then they meet with you to go look at homes. So when you meet with the buyer, then you're going to start scheduling listings and showings. And then when they move through the process of this funnel, then you're going to teach them about offers and negotiation, teach them about collecting all their documents and scheduling their inspection, their appraisal, all of those things. In that process, in that funnel, you have this stuff automatically going out to save you time, to collect information. And then you head to the closing table. And then when your funnel is done, it should be asking for referrals and testimonials. So that's a properly implemented funnel. You should not only have a sales funnel on your website, you should have a client funnel as well that takes them through the client total onboarding process. Some of the other funnels you've seen mentioned, they're more client funnels because they really don't generate leads. These people already have business and stuff going. If you're a new agent and you're relying on a funnel that's heavily based on your social element, whether how many people you've helped, then you're missing out. Those funnels will never work with you because you don't have those reviews yet. So you need to incorporate a sales and client funnel all in one into your website. And then we have landing pages. Landing pages are pretty much the same thing, but it's a single page with one focus of intent. Download the buyer's guide, download the seller's guide, schedule an appointment. The landing page, again, doesn't bring traffic. It just processes it. It does what web pages can't do because it's a single focus. And so if you're running an ad, download my buyer's guide, you don't want to send them to the website and make them go find the buyer's guide. You take them to a page that talks about the benefits of the buyer's guide, click here to download, and then you download it and send it to them. So what makes an effective landing page and funnel? That is basically meaning that it's high converting, that it's actually capturing leads. So if you get in 800 monthly traffic, you're hopefully walking away with 40 leads. A funnel landing page should have a clear, unique selling proposition. So these are all of your headers, your main header, your subheadings throughout the page. It's basically talking about why people should buy a home with you, sell a home with you. You should have an engaging hero shot. So don't use a lot of stock photos. Use pictures of you. Now, you want to use stock photos of homes in the area, that's fine, that look like it. But when you're talking about your team and stuff, don't use just general pictures of people. Let people see you. If you can put even a video, that's even better. Have compelling benefits of why people should work with you, right? So if people are working with you, like what do you do for them that other realtors aren't doing? Focus on the stuff that other people aren't doing that you're doing. And then the social proof you need. But if you're a new realtor and you don't have social proof, find a few people that have worked with you in the past and talk about your work experience, your dedication, your customer service, and have them report on those things because those do have something to do with real estate. Obviously, you don't want to lie about your social proof, but you need a few things on there as well. And then strong call to actions. This is where I think 99% of people mess up with marketing is they don't have clear and strong call to actions and telling the user what the next step is. Remember, they're going to get distracted very easy. You almost have to tell them kind of like a small child, this is the next step to work with me. This is the next step to download the guide, and be very clear on what that next step is that you want for them. And so now we come to which one should you implement? And this is, again, you should be implementing all of these because this all goes into one beautiful website. You should have that website because in this day and age, people, if you have a shoddy looking website, they're not going to work with you. Somebody like me, if I stumble on a business's website and it looks very bland, I'm not going to buy a product from there because I'm afraid it's a scam because of so many scams out there. So make sure your website is clean, it's well organized and put together, and kind of think through the thought process that you would want if you were looking for a home. So remember, again, that websites, funnels, and landing pages are not competitors. They're not enemies. You shouldn't just use one. They're companions. You should use them close together, because sales funnels do have a greater upfront ROI because you're focused on the buyer, you're focused on the seller, or whatever the sales process is. But they do have their limitation because they don't really advertise everything you do. And that's where your website comes in. Your website allows prospects to research your services. People in this day and age, they're going to research products and services before they buy, and your website allows them to do that. Websites play a critical role in the sales process because they shows everything that you have to offer. It builds credibility, especially if you have a blog. It builds trust that you know what you're talking about. And funnels and landing pages, again, don't bring in traffic. So you need your website to bring in that traffic organically. If you're not doing a lot of posting to social media, you're not doing a lot of ads out there to drive traffic to that. Remember, your website is the hub of your marketing. It increases visibility and process traffic to capture leads, just like a sales funnel. But a sales funnel, again, is just a targeted path of steps to send your visitors to capture their lead. And then your landing page is one main focus of buyer's guide, seller's guide. Get this list of homes under 300,000. Check out the newest listings in the area. Check out the latest open houses. Those are all landing pages you should be sending people to capture that information before you send them that. So now we get to how do we make these, right? So you can use tools that you already have. So you can use email marketing software to build landing pages and to build funnels as well, stuff like ClickFunnels. Your CRM, KV Core, a lot of other, Chime, you can build out sites. You are limited in what you can do because they're not going to give you full range of programming and templates, but you can build a funnel inside of KV Core. It's going to be a little clunkier, but you can make it work. You can make it look nice. You can make it look clean, and you can use something like that that's already built there for you and already connected to your CRM. Or you can use website builders like WordPress, Wix, Weebly. I highly recommend WordPress. That's what I build all of my client stuff in. Everybody that comes to my group here at EXP, I give them a website sales funnel template in WordPress that gives them everything, and we'll, in one of the steps, go through that. If you want to see that, you can go to jacobshireman.com and see my live demo of what that looks like. But if you don't want to do this on your own because you need to focus on income producing activities, which you should be, hire a web designer. You can use stuff like Fiverr, Upwork. There's companies out there, marketing companies, DIY funnel systems and websites that you can use. Just make sure they have all the elements that we talked about. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to hear your feedback. I know this was quick information, very high level. I do have more trainings broken down on my YouTube channel. You can find it at @JMShireman, as well as all of my social media. My website is jacobshireman.com. But if you have questions, message me in the workplace, hit me up on social media, or comment in the comments below of this video. I'd love to hear what you have and answer those questions for you. And make sure you come to part 2 of this series, where we talk about how to actually drive traffic, which is everything we need to be able to get leads. Thank you.